Hey, welcome back, everybody. January 16th, 2025. So, today we're going to do a video on a topic that I find really interesting. It's the topic of who really won World War II. And again, this is going to be entertainment purposes only for YouTube. Um, and I say that because not one Nazi party member signed the German surrender declaration to the US and the Allies, right? Um, there were hundreds of German U boats at the end of the World War II that escaped with top Nazi leadership. And according to some results, CIA declassified documents from the 50s, they're saying that Adolf Hitler actually escaped to Argentina. Um, but I think the Germans claimed the most land before any other country they in Antarctica, and I believe that a lot of the U-boats they had a submarine base down there, and that'll come up in a little bit. Um, and I say that I question who won World War II because with Operation Paperclip, the United States, Russia, Britain, and other countries were able to pardon the war crimes of some of these top Nazi scientists and engineers and intelligence community members of the Nazi Party were all pardoned and put in, um, high positions of power, especially in the U.S. The few that come to mind is for NASA. We had Werner van Braun, and then we had the first director of the CIA was Alan Dulles. He was a Nazi, um, and JFK was assassinated under Alan Dulles, and his right hand man was George Bush Sr. So just keep that in mind. We know that the Vatican Church helped the Nazis before World War II, during World War II, and actively helped Nazis escape after World War II. Um, if you remember, after World War II, in 1947, the youngest Admiral Richard E. Byrd, who was the first to explore and fly over the North Pole and the South Pole and Antarctica, and he was sent down there by the U.S. Navy with 5,000 troops, 30 aircraft, 5 destroyer ships um, to Antarctica in 1947. They lost every single aircraft and helicopter they had. They lost about 500 men. And when Richard Byrd stopped at the tip of Buenos Aires in South America, he was talking to a reporter saying that there was a new aircraft that could fly pole to pole at tremendous speeds. And I mean, the question is, did he find the Nazi secret base that had their Wonder Waffle Foo Fighting craft? And, coincidentally, in 1952, there were many reports of UFO sightings all over the airspace in DC, and even 12 of them landing on the White House lawn. Now, I don't know if I wasn't there, but I've heard varying reports on it. And it would make sense to me that if the Nazis actually won World War II, what happens to America after World War II starts to make a little bit more sense. After World War II, America put fluoride in all the water, which lowers IQ after maybe 10 years. It's been in the water for 50 at least, maybe even, well, maybe 70 now. They've been genetically modifying our food since the 40s. They've been we had Operation Sea Spray by the U.S. Navy in San Francisco in 1950. Confirmed biological warfare against U.S. citizens. You have the Tuskegee experiments, and again, if the bad guys won, right, and they were like Aryans, and they were trying to kill all the non-Aryan people. Like, does it not make sense? Just a teeny tiny bit that they've been poisoning our food, our water, our air, and like systematically taking us out with pharmaceuticals and vaccines and all this like Dr. Mengele stuff. You know what I mean? So um, I just think it's a really interesting topic because when you know that there was a dictator in Argentina that allowed the Nazis to colonize in the jungles of Argentina by Patagonia and all these, like there's been multiple sightings of, you know, blonde, blue-eyed German villages in the Amazon in South America, if you can believe that. So it's not, there was a History Channel show showing you all this stuff. You can look it up. I can't remember. It was like Chasing Hitler or something like that. Um, so when you realize that the American government pardoned all the Nazis that were responsible for the genocides of World War II, and then put them in positions of power, does it start to make a little bit of sense? Um, you know, we know that a lot of rich U.S. companies like Ford Automobile invested in the German Nazi Party before World War II. We had the Rockefellers. We had um, organizations worldwide were funding this whole. You know, we know the Rothschilds fund both sides of every conflict since the Revolutionary period, and it's no different. Um, and they were able to place with the Balfour Declaration, they were able to put Israel back on the map and then cause even more chaos in the Middle East. Not that it needed help. And so when we look at it from the perspective of the UN was also created after World War II, and if the Germans were in power, it gives it a little bit of a more nefarious tone to the UN, right? And I don't know. I think all of these things we factor in to this hypothetical. We know that the Nazis were technologically ahead of everyone by at least 40 or 50 years. And that's why they all got pardoned and brought into, you know, the US and the British intelligence and Russia and whatever. And, you know, all of a sudden everybody's a nuclear power, and you know there was rumors that certain leadership that was captured by U.S. allied forces that you know made a deal with people in top leadership positions to get the Manhattan Project completed, right? So it's really not that far fetched, to be perfectly honest with you. That's just my opinion, and you know I'm only a human being. I could be wrong, but it really it really kind of when you know that George Bush Sr. was like the second in command of the CIA when JFK was assassinated. And then afterwards, under LBJ, he was like elevated to the top position and then became vice president to Reagan. And then he did one term where he did the New World Order speech. And we know that his grandfather, Prescott Bush, stole all the priceless artwork from the Jews and the gold and all that stuff. That's how the Bushes got all their money. And then they reinvested in the oil fields of Texas. And now we have the Bush dynasty, you know, like the TV show. I mean, they had 1, 2, 3 terms. And we saw what happened. They started the first Iraq war, the second Iraq war, Afghanistan. They allowed 9/11 to happen. The Patriot Act, the NSA got powers over everybody. They can spy on us all now. It sounds like 1984. Like boy, uh, so you know, again, let me know what you guys think of this theory, and is it plausible? Let me know. I'm all ears. I just we go back to the top here, and it's like, who really won World War II? You know, NASA in Hebrew that translates to deceiver, and that's a defense department in the government. We had a Nazi running that with Walt Disney creating heliocentric space for all the kids, and they had to jam that down your indoctrination program throat. And we think about not one, not one Nazi party member signed the surrender of Germany to the Allied forces in World War II. Um, they claimed the most land in Antarctica, 400, as many as 400 U-boats with all the top leadership being helped by the Vaticans and the Jesuits to escape prosecution in World War II. And they either went to Antarctica or Argentina. Even Adolf Hitler. And you can look at some of these documents that the FBI and the CIA, um, they know he was up here. He was up by the Patagonian rainforest in South America, if you could believe that. Then we know that the Antarctic Treaty was signed 5 years after Operation High Jump, where after World War II, Richard E. Byrd, the youngest admiral of all time, went down there. They got their butts handed to him, and he told you about the pole-to-pole weapons at Buena. They told a reporter down in South America that. And then the same year that the Antarctic Treaty was signed, saying nobody can go down there, there was supposedly 12 Foo Fighter UFOs landing on the White House lawn. And I mean, maybe, just maybe, that's how it really went down with the thousands of Nazis that died decades after World War II peacefully in America, and all these guys that were Nazis that were in positions of power. It's not, they're poisoning the food, the air, the water for 50, 60, 70 years now. They biological warfare since the 50s at minimum. I don't know. It sounds like evil won World War II. And I'll leave you on that note. Werner van Braun's tombstone had a biblical passage from Psalms 19:1 talking about God's handiwork with the firmament. And this guy was the head of NASA. Just keep that in mind. And could it be Satan? I'm just saying. Till the next one, guys. Hit the likes. Please subscribe. I appreciate y'all for any interaction with the channel to help us grow. Until the next one, I'm out. Peace.